Okay. So the topic of stretching, so let me just to begin from the beginning again. So you have your traditional stretches, like that we know, and we usually use them some sort of for muscular activation and this and that. And for warm up and for avoiding injuries, all those reasons we know, right? But now I'm talking about, I mean, I don't think that's anything profound for people, but where people make the mistake is they don't know how to train as stretching as Systema. Like, how do you recreate that? Like everybody says, oh, I know how to breathe, but most people don't know how to breathe when they're training. That's the they don't know how to breathe when they're wrestling. They don't know how to breathe when they're getting hit. They don't know how to breathe when they're scared. Like, sure, everybody says I know how to stretch, but they don't know how to do that in the middle of training or fighting per se, right? People know this idea of stretching your mind, like stretching your ideas and being creative, right? Like opening your mind to see things in a different way. So you can stretch your breath by breathing in longer. How do you stretch your mind? Well, you stretch your mind by reading different things, right? You stretch your mind by opening yourself to new ideas, right? And that's one of the things I wrote down as I got older to make sure I don't get stuck in my ways of thinking. There might be things I don't understand, right? Like, but life and things move on, and you don't want to be left behind stiff because your thinking is stiff, right? So the same in martial arts. A lot of martial artists are very stiff in their thinking. They train in one style and they think, well, this is it and that's all, right? You want to make sure that you're open your mind to different things, and stretching is a great way to look at it. So the videos I posted, you can see all the different ways of stretching. I'll recap them quickly. There's ballistic, there's dynamic, there's static. And the static has two components to it. It has a force component and it has a passive component. So you know what that means. So if I put my arm on a wall here and I'm pushing into it, that's a forced static stretch. If I just reach behind me like this and I just relax, that's a passive static stretch. Okay, so passive is more relaxed. Forced is exactly like I say. You're pulling it in. You're doing something, right? The ballistic and dynamic are dynamic. We do in Systema quite a bit because we move. So the stretches are not meant to be held, but they're in motion. Great way to warm up. It's a great thing. There are some more injuries that could be involved, especially if you go crazy. I've never seen it. I told just one of the videos. I don't know. People say they get injured. I don't know what people are doing when they move on the ground. I don't know if their ass spazzing out or something. I don't know what they do. I just move normally. The ballistic, you will see the people I remember that do the ballistic stretching are kind of like track athletes, the sprinters. They do like a lot of leg swings. So ballistic is different from dynamic because it swings. There's a swinging component. Right? So you're swinging and you're stretching. And at the end, it comes back. So anyway, we're not going to cut into that. You should try all of them and see which one works better for you. I do all. It depends how I feel. The static is definitely safer and it's easier. The dynamic a little bit more complex, and the ballistic definitely you have to know a little bit about what you're doing, right? Now, how does it transfer over? So let's talk about the mind first, okay? So when we're training in Systema, we get fixed in a mindset of like, okay, I need to escape by moving. But movement is much more than just movement. Movement can be generated from fear in the head or can be generated by stretching. Okay? Think of how you're inspired in your life. You can be inspired by what you read. You can be inspired by what you see. You can be inspired by what you do. All those things can inspire you to do something, right? So stretching for me, because when people, so in fighting or martial arts in scary situations, people shrink, they kind of get closed, right? So by opening yourself and stretching, you don't allow fear to come in as much, okay? And now that's kind of scary, I get it, especially with somebody who scares you. It is obviously scary in a situation to when you feel vulnerable to open yourself up, right? Do any of you remember the celebrity roasts? You know what those are? Do you guys remember? Do you know what those are? Have you heard of it at all, Alberto? No? Celebrity roasts, they were very popular in the 50s, okay? Like even 40s, I don't know, maybe 60s, 70s too, I don't know. Where they got a famous celebrity, and on his birthday, all the friends came around and they were allowed to say anything to you, and you were not allowed to get upset. That was the rule. So they would make fun of your hair, they would make fun of the way you talked, they make fun of your opinions, the way you dressed, you know, they could make fun of you and be as honest as they could, and you weren't allowed to get mad. Okay. And it was mean, man. There was some, I mean, there was some, yeah, there was some mean stuff, right? Meaning, so the end idea is that at least now you know what everybody is thinking, and you open yourself to this. Why would somebody do this? You open yourself to it because you want to hear the truth and you want to get a better idea of how people see you. Okay, that's it. So why would somebody open themselves up in training, especially with somebody that scares them, right? Because you want to understand the role fear plays in your body, right? You do this for your benefit, right? For yourself. So because it's one thing to have all kinds of martial arts skills, but if you're scared underneath it all, like really too scared, then you'll never be able to apply them anyway, right? There's no athlete worth their weight if at the core they have a fear of failure. There's no way you'll be able to try this good thing. You have to at some point not be scared of failing and just be ready to do whatever's necessary, right? Does that make sense, everybody? You see that? So stretching has a deeper component to it. It allows me to go the opposite way of what would dictate, right? And you've heard the analogy of the sheepdog, right? So the sheepdog, when the wolf comes running, the sheepdog runs to the wolf, but everybody else runs away. That dog goes to the wolf. It's like, I want you guys, when you feel scared, to open yourself, not close yourself, meaning in training, right? Like you want to understand what this is, right? It's kind of like kids that go to roller coasters. You know, they know they're scared, but they go because, you know, they want the excitement of it, the rush, something, right? I want you to be like that as well, because it's taught me a lot, that stuff. Yeah, people choke you. Yeah, people can do this. I understand. But anyway, we're martial artists, so we should be okay with all that stuff. We should understand that, right? Yeah. That makes sense, everybody? I hope that does. So on one level, please stretch. So stretch on your own, but then when you start, let's say, wrestling with somebody, instead of locking, right? So when I grab a headlock, I reach, like I'm reaching too. I don't allow myself to close up. So when I'm grabbing, I don't tighten up. I don't like, how can I say it? I don't lock myself. I don't shrink myself, right? I don't want to shrink. I want to always be open, right? So I can grab a headlock, but I feel open. I'm not like, oh, when somebody grabs me, I don't shrink, but I open myself, okay? So you have to see stretching as in those kind of terms, okay? So we won't be able to do it online. I mean, we're all on our own, so we won't be able to see this. I'm just giving you the methodology behind it all. So tomorrow, be very specific, even for 5 minutes or 10 minutes with your partner. Ask them, say, please wrestle with me, do whatever you want, and you try to open yourself, okay, as the movement with the stretch by reaching, right? And how I did it, we can try it now, right? I'm just gonna move the camera over here, right? You guys can see me. You guys can hear me okay? Yeah, okay. So when you're on the ground and you're moving, right? It's like I'm always reaching, right? It's like I'm always reaching with my foot and with my arm. Because if the person is lying on top of me here, maybe the only thing I can do is move my leg, right? Or if they're across my legs, maybe the only thing I can do is move my arms. So go on the ground now and start to move yourself by reaching. So it's like you're reaching for something, and then allow it to move your body. So the first thing, my hand goes, and then my body comes second, right? So I'm reaching, and then my body comes second. Reach, and then it comes second. Awesome, guys. So when you're training, if you're going to have your partners work with you, what I would do is first do the warm up like this, where you're on your own and stretching with your arms. And so first thing I do is I reach. First is I'm stretching, and then my body moves. So first I stretch, and then I move. So the stretch starts the movement. The stretch starts the movement. Then you would have a partner lie across your body. So the main goal would be to always put weight on top of your body, okay? Not your arms or legs yet. And you start to kind of move, right? So you move. So here I have a person lying across my body, and I move them like I'm moving my arms, okay? Front or back or side. Then later they can start to lie across your legs, or they can lie across those kind of parts for you, right? You got it? Makes sense? Yeah, because I just, we want to cover as much as we can. So now it's very easy for you, because now we're starting to change our mind, because now we're saying this idea of wrestling, the combat side, I'm going to put it aside for a second, and I'm just going to see what I could do with stretching, just with stretching. Now, what I find is that when I have a person on top of me, it helps me stretch further, actually, because I can actually feel the weight coming off or coming on. So you should feel the weight moving on top of you, right? It's not stuck. If you're tense or if you shrink, the weight will become heavier on you. If you stretch, the person will roll off you, okay? So the feeling, one second. So the feeling is like this. If that's me on the ground, if somebody applies force, like I'm stepping, it should slide off. Okay, if I'm stretching, the feeling for me is going to be like, as soon as the weight comes on me, if I'm stiff, if I stay still, the person can put all their weight on top of me. But if I'm stretching, I'm going to move the weight off of me. So if you think about this column like your body, okay? When the person puts weight on top of you, if you stay still, they can stand on this thing. But if you start to reach, it will move. This is like a movable object, okay? Any pressure, you stretch. See how it moves? I'm holding it still, but when I stretch, it moves, okay? When I stretch my leg, it moves. This column is your body, okay? So that's, you want to feel that when the weight is on top of you, you didn't push it up, but you rolled it off you. You rolled it off you with stretching, okay? Makes sense? Makes sense, right? Now, if you have, like, sometimes I'll use like a small weight, or if you have like a very light bag, you don't need it now, but some people have like the smaller punching bags, are like 40 pounds, like, or something, and you can put it on top of you and start to kind of move with it. That sometimes works. I don't know. It depends how creative you want to be with this whole thing. But that's a big deal. And then later, when somebody's, let's say, grabbing you in a headlock, or you start to stretch to escape. So you don't escape because you have a tactical plan. You escape because you want to stretch. And that's the big key, is focusing on stretching being the driver of the motion, okay? Now, why most people were not going to be successful, okay? And this is the truth, okay? Because too many people are outcome oriented, okay? Too many people think I need to get rid of this person off of me, that's the goal. That's not my goal. That's not the goal of any good martial arts I've ever seen. It might seem like it, but it's not. The process I follow processes, not outcomes. Outcomes I can't control. If there's a guy on top of me that's really good in wrestling, it might take me forever to get him off of me. I might never get him off me. I don't know. Some people like octopus, okay? But what I do know is the process at which I'm going to approach this. The process is going to be by breathing, by moving, and by moving, I can move by what I think, or I can move by what I feel, which is a stretch. So my process to dealing with groundwork is to first move and breathe and understand how to deal with this situation, not to necessarily escape and deal with the person right away. Does that make sense? People that are process oriented accomplish the greatest things in our life, guys. People that are outcome oriented, that's not the same. There's nobody that's going to tell me you're going to win an Olympic gold medal. There's nobody that can do that. They'll say it, but the ones that actually win the gold medals are the ones that focus on process. Okay. The person that is the happiest is not the one that says, I want $1 million. The one that says, I want the process of doing something, not the number. Okay. The number is irrelevant. Okay. So keep that in mind. The process, we're working now on a process of approaching groundwork in a different way, with stretching as the methodology, okay, as the main driver. Okay, so then we do it. So you do it on the ground. Now sit on your bum. Now sit on your bum. And now from this position, you're going to stretch. So you can stretch like, from a seated position, right? Now, in martial arts, this might represent, when you're on the ground and somebody's kicking you, when somebody starts to kick you, right? So now, instead of moving, when I feel the impact of a kick, I stretch, but I'm always coming back to the seated position. So I can move with my leg. I can move with reaching, right? I can reach going up, I can reach going back, and I always come back to the seated position. So you're reaching from this position, okay? Left, right, behind you, in front of you, and you're always on your bum or your hips. Okay, guys. Okay, so some applications for this one, okay? Seated position, usually in this position, people start to kick you, right? And people start to kind of lock up, or, when the kick comes in. Now, if I were to see a kick coming straight ahead of me, instead of moving out of the way because I see something, I stretch, right? So I reach with my leg, right? A roundhouse or something coming towards my head, rather than moving by what I see, I kind of stretch back, or I stretch forward for it to go behind me, right? So if you want now, kind of visualize some kicks coming in towards you. So maybe like a roundhouse coming towards me here. So instead of just moving out of the way, I'm going to reach out of the way. So whatever direction I go, I'm reaching for something. Yeah. So if it's a kick coming straight in, I reach to the side, right? Maybe to this side. If it's a kick coming from the back, maybe I turn and I reach with my legs, right? So it's like try to maybe visualize some kicks coming in and how instead of moving, you're reaching to the opposite side. You're reaching to get away from it. How was it, guys? How was it? It's okay? Okay. So again, I don't know how good your visualization skills are, but I've worked with some people that I swear to you, it's like they're really there, okay? Like the stronger you're able to see something in your mind's eye, the stronger you can create it, the better, okay? The better. Like really, the great athletes, Pelé pioneering it from what I remember about he would visualize the entire soccer game in his head before he played it. He to all the details, the grass, the weather, the people he was playing against. He visualized it very clear in his head. That's what made him such a great player. He was in his mind, created the game before it happened. And sometimes we know what martial arts we're studying. We understand the situations. Create them in your mind if you can and train. Like it's almost as good as the real thing. Okay, it's almost as good as the real thing if you can believe it or not. Right now, have any of you researched this stuff on visualization, seen some of the results and stuff? So it's pretty. The results are pretty remarkable, right? They would take an athlete and they would say, okay, you're soccer players. Let's say we're all soccer players, right? So Alberto, you for 1 year, you're not going to play any soccer. You're going to play tennis. And then Miro, you're only going to think about soccer. You're going to practice in your head and you're going to think about games every day. Do nothing else. You're not playing the game, just thinking about it. And then I'm going to play the game and practice every day physically soccer. Okay. At the end of a year, the difference between me and Miro will be very little. Even though he didn't even play the game, he only imagined the game in his head. Only imagine the game in his head, okay? There was a famous, one of the best shotgun, you know, in the Olympics, they have the shotgun sport, right? He had to do army service and he was not able to shoot a shotgun for 2 years while he was in the army. He could only shoot the regular guns, but not a shotgun in that sport. And every day for 3 hours a day, he visualized shooting his shotgun for the 2 years. And guess what? The year after, he went to the Olympics and won. Like just visualization. So that's how powerful that is, right? Now, maybe try 5 minutes a day. I don't know. Like, don't have to go crazy. Just do 5 minutes. You don't have to be like that guy 3 hours, right? Just do 5 minutes. I guarantee you're going to see huge benefits, right? And try to visualize the things that you want, not the things that you don't want. Okay, visualize clearly what you want, right? And one of it is stretching as the force to get away from something, not fear or those kind of things. Make sense? Try this. Okay, now, so in class, we started from the ground, and we started from the seated position, these different ways, and then we stood up, right? So now we're going to kind of get up, right? Just going to change it here. Now, hopefully you guys have a wall there, right? I have a wall here at the club. Now, what's good about a wall is it's kind of like a vertical floor, right? It's just like I'm not lying down, I'm standing up, but I have like the floor was behind me, right? So very similar. I'm going to start to kind of reach on the wall, right? I'm just going to start to kind of stretch using the wall, right? Any way. I'm just going to put this back so you can see all of it, right? So I'm going to stretch using the wall. And with my feet, I'm going to stretch using the floor. So it's like I'm stretching my arms on the wall, but I'm stretching my feet on the floor. Or I could do it the other way around like this. Awesome. Okay. Now, the wall has many metaphors here, guys, many metaphors, okay? So I want you to please pay attention to them because they can be quite deep if you want, right? The wall for me can become indicative of the role fear plays in me, okay? The wall is solid, okay? And I need to stretch on it, but I don't want to be stuck on it. I want to use it so that it's like an indicator of how far I can stretch. I lean against it for a little bit of support, but not too much, and I stretch, and then I let go. So if your fear could be like this wall, where you understand it's close to you, I understand maybe death or injury is close to you, but if you're locked to that wall or you're locked to that idea, you'll never be able to escape from this. Does that make sense, guys? So as you're on this solid wall, okay, and you use it for stretching and for support and for this, fear can give you some support. It can give you something. It's not all bad. Fear is a little bit of fear we all hear is good for us, right? A little bit of the wall is good for you. Too much of it, and you're going to be executed. It's not an execution wall. It's a stretching wall. Okay. So you move on it front and back, just like you did the floor, and you reach and you stretch. Okay. You reach and you stretch. And the reason I want you to be able to do this is because you know that drill where we use the stick and we poke, right? Where people are poking you with the stick. So the transition for this would be I would have students stretching, and then there'd be another student poking them with the stick. So as you're in stretch and you get a poke here, you have to be able to rotate. You have to be able to kind of move, much like the person puts a weight on top of you and you're wrestling. You have to be able to stretch and move that weight off of your body. So as you're reaching now, and at the end here, you rotate. So you have to be able at the end of your stretch, like I'm up here, I have to be able to rotate. So as you reach at the end of your stretch, make sure that your body has some give. So if somebody stabs you, somebody punches you, somebody sticks you, you can move, that you have some movement left in your body. Yeah. So right at the end, make sure that you can rotate out of it. How was it, guys? Come talk to me. How was it? How does your body feel? You feel like you're reaching?
I think I managed to escape a little bit there from imagining poking.
Yes, yeah. Just imagine that you have to do something. Like, I think where people go is that the stretch is not now. It's stretching for self-defense. It's like, it's like stretching to create a solution where you don't have, because people will always. I mean, I don't know. There was a point there where I always used to roll on my ankle in sports. My right ankle, I was always turning on it, right? And then somebody told me that the ankle only breaks at the very end when there's lots of tension, because it rolled. Your body realizes there's no more flexibility left and it will break, right? Goes, but if at that exact moment when the roll is over, you throw your body to that direction that it's going, it'll only be maybe a little bruise or something. It won't be a break. It'll be like a light sprain. And after that, I never hurt myself in my ankle. I always, whenever I felt the direction I went, a lot of times when we're stretching, when I feel an impact, I never hold it. I always rotate. I always teach myself to stretch past that point. Okay. So this concept will help you, especially with impacts, right? When it comes to a knife, every doctor says the same thing I've ever seen. Oh, 1 more inch and you're in big trouble, Emmanuel. It really is a game of inches. It really is a game of inches. Okay. Not just for that, even when I was cutting bread and I cut my hand, couple of half centimeter more, I would have got into the tendons. Again, it's always very close. You're buying fractions of distance, right? So how this would escalate would be you'd move on the wall, stretch on the wall and rotate. And then your partner would be pushing you with either a knife or a stick or something like this. And you would have to be able to find the stretch to get out of that, not the closure, okay? You don't want to shrink. You want to open yourself. Got it? Good. Now, and then the same idea would happen with punches. I would have, the other thing we did is I had students put their hands up and people were pushing them in the body, okay? And while they were being pushed, I put like 5 people, 10 people around me. And while they were pushing me in the body, I had to touch the back of their heads. I had to touch the back of their head, okay? Just touch the back. So now, as I'm getting pushed in the body, and then the pushes became punches in the body, I had to reach behind somebody. Okay. Now that's opposite, because when people get hit, we shrink a little bit, right? We want to contract a little bit, but I wanted to open myself. Now was about 10 students in yesterday's class, and I had all of them do it. So first they did it just being pushed with their hands beside them. Okay. And then I asked them to open their hands and touch behind, and did the same drill. All of them collectively said, reaching behind the person while you were taking it, while it seemed a little scarier, hurt them less. Because when they felt the push, they were reaching away from it. You see what I mean? Look, as I feel the push, I'm already reaching. I'm reaching and it slides off me. When my hands are doing nothing and the pushes are coming in, there's not as much of a stretch, okay? So you want to reach behind you. You want to reach like for something behind and push, and person's pushing you, right? Again, could be with a knife, can be with punches, can be with whatever it is. Questions, guys, about that? Does that make sense to you? I mean, it seems counterintuitive. I don't know what else to say. It seems funny, but you need your arms to do something. You need them to solve your problems, and your body has to be able to deal with whatever comes. Okay. Now, instead of just thinking about body movement, what if the stretch created a body movement? So look, here's me moving my body, right? No arms involved. And then here's me stretching. My body still moves, right? I'm reaching, my body still moved, right? I'm not thinking about moving my body. I'm just reaching and my body moved. I'm just reaching and my body moved. I'm reaching and my body moved. So sometimes we're worrying about the body, but if you reach, your body's already moving. It's already moved. So, you know, you can practice this stuff all day long, all your body movements, right? This is great. But if I reach over here, my body moved. If I reach over here, my body moved. If I reach back here, my body moved. It just by reaching. I haven't even done my legs. I haven't even taken some steps. If I stretch with my legs, look at how my body moves. Here it is. And look, I step back. Look where my body moves. Look how my body moves with even stepping. Like seriously, you could just look at yourself. You look at, here's my body. I just take a step and it disappeared. Like it changed its shape.
It's kind of like just a stretch on the ground. You make a move and your body follows, right?
So there's two ways of looking at this, Alberto. You can say two ways, okay? So I can be moved by what I think about. So you could say something to me, say, you're a piece of shit. And I hear it and that upsets me. Or you can give me the finger, I see something and I get upset, right? No, both are gonna, so I can move my body by thinking about my body, or I can move my body by stretching, by just reaching. It'll move me, right? It's that simple, you know. Like my friend told me, he said, Emmanuel, move, and I didn't hear him. He said, Emmanuel, move. Then he grabbed me by the hair and moved me. So he tried to tell me, but I didn't hear it. So then he moved me, and thank God he did. I would have been in trouble at that time. So you can move people by telling them. If they don't listen, you can pull them, right? You have options here. Sometimes for whatever reason, maybe we have, you know, like a bad rib or we've injured ourselves, right? And maybe moving like this is not possible, but you can move like this, right? Yeah. You can move by reaching, right? You can move by reaching. Okay. So I like it better because like I shared with Miro last week, Alberto, you need your skills to become from conscious to subconscious. You need them to be with you without too much of your thought. Okay. So I don't know, everybody is so different. Some people find this very natural. Some people find this very natural. Okay. Maybe in some situations I like this. Other situations I want something like this. I really don't care. As long as you know how to move yourself in such a way that is natural for you, that it's a subconscious, that you don't think about it. Because remember, like Alberto went surfing some big waves later. Come on, how can you have to feel surfing? You have to feel it, right? That it's the same, guys. The real life situations is the same thing. I don't want to get caught up on you guys being good conscious thinkers, because a conscious thinker is somebody who's good in practice, not good in real. That's the difference between a guy that's good in real. The guy that's good in reality, doesn't matter what it is able to let go and operate subconsciously. A person that is a good in practice is just a conscious thinker, which is fine, but his skills never went to that deeper level. Never went to a deeper level, right? So please let it go deeper. It's not necessary to be habitual with your practice. It's just a matter of saying, when I'm doing something over and over, I want to try test it when I'm training with somebody and find out what's subconscious for me. Make sense? It makes sense, right? So your practice for this week would have to be everything from your day-to-day activity. So you have two ways of operating. So let's say I'm in the kitchen, right? I'm in the kitchen, you know, I'm washing the dishes, whatever, you know, big manly stuff that all the instructors do, right? I have the cups right here. I know I could stretch, open the cupboard and grab a cup. So that's one option. The other option would be to turn, take a few steps, get the cup and put some water. Okay? There's always an option. So I want you to start to see what you're stretching for and what you can walk to. There's no right or wrong. It's your decision of what you want to make, right? Your decision. Okay. Watch how you can be motivated by reaching or body position, right? Either way is going to be fine. Okay. But try to see how stretching works out in your day-to-day life. How many do you stretch to put your pants on? How many of you, or do you sit down comfortably and put your pants on? You see, they watch different people do different things, right? I almost killed myself a week ago putting my underwear on. I got it caught on my foot. I almost threw myself over.
Try putting your socks standing up.
Yes. Well, try putting, exactly. So that you realize one is stretching, one is proper position. Nothing wrong, but you see how sometimes when we reach has some benefits, some ways, in some ways not other benefits, right? So try to see that, and then be very diligent in practice. Okay, when you go to training, I can do what I showed you right now, the stretching, and my instructor would not know. He's going to say wrestle on the ground or escape from grabs or do punches. My process is using the stretching. You see what I mean? Like I want to see how much this works for me. Maybe it works 1 out of 10 times. Maybe it works 2 out of 5 times. I don't know. But practice this concept of as you're being pushed or as you're being wrestled or as you're on the ground, instead of just moving, stretch out of the way and watch what the difference is. You might find it's easier for you to stretch out of the way. I don't know, right? So try to see how much of this will work for you, okay? Guys, ask me questions. I mean, that was pretty much what I taught. We just did it in groups and partners, punching and kicking in different ways, right? The person threw a kick towards your stomach, and instead of moving out of the way, it's like I reached like behind me and the kick went away. Or as the kick came here, I stretched my leg behind me. Or as the kick came here, I reached behind me with my arm, right? And we did it almost like bodyguard. Somebody was in front of a kick coming in, and they would throw the arm. So they'd pick up their partner's arm and throw them out of the way, right? So many ways of practicing this, right? But the concept is not just moving. Now the movement is very specific. It's a stretch that leads to a movement, which is very dynamic, right? And that's dynamic stretching, okay? Now, before I go, static stretching. Okay, how do you make static stretching Systema? So static stretching Systema is very, very easy. It's actually, so here's a static stretch. So here's me applying a forced, because I'm using the wall and I'm pushing into it, a forced static stretch across my chest. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find that where I feel my muscle, but I don't feel it's tearing. I feel that it's got a good stretch. And now I'm gonna sit here and with my breathing, try to relax into it. And I take a forced stretch and make it a passive stretch. And I'm relaxing into the stretch. With my breath, I'm relaxing those muscles that are tense. This is very Systema-esque, right? Under tension, under there, I'm relaxing. And I'm training myself in a funny way with stretching. I'm training myself how to deal with all things. So tomorrow when punches come to my stomach, and I feel tense in the stomach, I'm trying to understand how to relax my stomach, try to let that tension go so I don't absorb it and take it all. Does that make sense? So any passive stretching is very easy. If I touch my toes, my hamstrings my back becomes tense, I breathe to that tension, I connect and breathe to that tension, and I try to relax into it. So I don't go away from it, but I take a tense muscle and I try to lengthen it. I try to relax it and make it longer, but I'm not forcing it. That's not a forced thing, right? So in other words, where there's tension, I apply relaxation, which is very Systema principle, right? And I literally say that to myself, where there's tension, apply relaxation. So wherever the tension is, like now it's in my shoulder, I apply relaxation. And I relax as much as I can. Some stretches are quite complex, right? Is that not what yoga is? Finding these odd positions, right? Isn't it? You're finding odd positions and get comfortable. And there's different types of yoga. I get it. I mean, I'm just using an example. That to me, that's all yoga is. I mean, maybe I'm explaining it wrong, but I've done it a bunch of times. That's the only methodology I had. That was the process. I said, this guy's putting me in some ridiculous position and I've just got to get comfortable in it, right? Isn't that what kids are all about? I don't know. I'm just asking, okay? Isn't that what parenting is? I don't know. Call me crazy, but that's what it seems like to me. Just get comfortable. And then that has to apply when we're wrestling or fighting. Just get comfortable in uncomfortable situations, just so you make good decisions and maybe enjoy the process of what's happening. Okay? Makes sense, guys? All of Systema can be done through stretching. Okay? Try to remember that.
I'm gonna
keep
try
in
that
mind.
with the dishes. I'm gonna try that with the dishes.
I'm telling you, man. And there's many levels with the dishes.
just
many levels.
if I break some,
There's
Luciano
many-
get mad at me.
there's- No, if you break it, you have to dance. We're dancing if we're breaking plates, okay? Have a great one, guys. It was so good seeing you, everybody. I'll see you next week, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
man.
you got it.
So good.
All right, attaboy,
Yeah.
attaboy. How do you like it so far, Miro? How do you like it? Have you started reading it?
I've had it for about 35 minutes, so I don't know.
Good. Enjoy, man. Enjoy. I've read that maybe 4 times over the many years. It's a great beginner book. If you get the audiobook of that guy, he does the audio, and really the guy is one of the most decorated. He's got so many gold medals in Olympics for shooting sports, and his mindset is amazing. He's very modest, but the people that he's coached in business and in life stuff is off the charts. He's really a blessing as a person. Really nice guy. You enjoy this book. There's a lot of applications for the mental side of it that I hope you get out of it. But I'll let you read it and tell me what you get out of it. Okay.
I'll do. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Have a great weekend. Bye, everybody.
Have a nice weekend. Bye.